Hey, what's up guys? Tank here. And I just want to answer a question that I get a lot. I get asked often enough, not like every day, I don't want to exaggerate, but often enough, and I think more now than before because the holidays are coming up, people are around family. It can be a depressing time of year for some people. So I want to answer the question, how do you keep a positive outlook? Now, the first thing I want to say is that it is not easy. It's not easy to keep a positive outlook, especially in the face of depression, negativity, tragedy, real life stuff that happens that does make you upset. But the way that I do it is just, it's a habit that I've cultivated over years and years and years of forcing myself to see what goes right every day instead of what goes wrong. It's been ingrained in me from a young age. I remember meeting this guy who my father worked with, and every time we'd have a party for my dad, his 40th birthday party, 50th, retirement, all that stuff, he'd always come up to me and he'd be like, your dad is a great man. Let me tell you, that man, he's something else. And I finally asked my dad about it. I said, Dad, what's up with that guy that always comes up to me and tells me that you're so amazing? I said, I know you're amazing, but what's his deal? And he goes, oh, that guy, you know what? It was one time 25, 30 years ago that he was complaining about the job. He was complaining about a job he got or a job he didn't get. And he pointed at a newspaper and there was something that happened that day. He doesn't even remember what it was, something about kids starving somewhere. And he goes, hey, it could be worse, it could be one of those kids. And it changed the guy's life. And sometimes that's all it takes. I also, in college, studied communications. And I remember there was a professor who was adamant about taking responsibility for your perspective on life, because life is going to be a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But the way that you interpret it is completely up to you. And she used the example of starting your car. She'd say, if you went out to the parking lot right now and your car didn't start, on a scale of 1 to 10, how pissed would you be? And everybody was like a 10. She goes, when you go out to your car and it does start, how positively do you react? And everyone looked at each other like, you don't react, that's just what happens, you expect that. And that's where you get into trouble, is taking things for granted. So, in my estimation, the opposite of taking things for granted is being grateful. So I've made it a habit of every time something goes right, I get home safe, my car starts, I try and celebrate internally, even a little bit, and I find that it helps. The reason that negativity sticks out so much is because it's so rare. And before you judge that statement, hear me out. Life can be incredibly good, birth of a child, marriage, graduating college, all the things that we think are the best days of our life. And it can be incredibly tragic, death of a loved one, getting fired from a job, getting sick. It's largely indifferent though. So if 10% of your life is absolute joy-filled utopia and being ecstatic, and the other 10% is tragedy, that means 80% is stuff that happens every day that you pay no attention to and you pay no mind to. It's in those moments that I try and celebrate, and I find that that's made a tremendous difference in my life. Now, it is also about who you hang out with and who you gravitate towards and who you are naturally inclined to be around, and this is where it gets tough, because in the past, when I was miserable and I was really suffering, if I met somebody new and they started complaining about their job, their family, their girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, dude, I get it. Life sucks, right? Let's talk about how much life sucks. Let's go on and on and on about how much life sucks. And now if I meet somebody new, if I meet a new person and they start complaining right away, I can't get away fast enough. And that's obviously, listen, in certain situations you have to deal with negativity if it's someone you work with or whatever, but in those situations, I keep it all business. I don't engage in personal talk or anything like that. I keep it all business so I can get through the conversation and not be dragged down by that person's negative energy. Now, long-term friends are where it gets tough, because you can cultivate this new attitude, and if you meet any new people, immediately you're trying to filter through this like, I only want to be around positive people thing. But what about the guy or girl you've been friends with since you were 12 that complains all the time? Every time you talk to them, it's this went wrong or that went wrong or this sucks or that sucks. And obviously you know this, I'm not going to tell you something you don't know, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you have to cut that person off. You have to. If you want to be happy, you don't have to cut the person off. Let me back up a little bit. You don't have to cut the person off, but if you want to change your perspective and clean house and have only positive people around you, some of the people that you've been rolling with for a long time are going to get, they're going to get left behind, as they should be. If you're growing towards being enlightened and being happy and appreciating, anybody who's not should naturally get left behind. What happens is you move forward, this person stays here, and you waste energy trying to drag them up with you, but they don't want to be dragged. They don't want to do the work. And that's the real secret. The real secret is that this is a lot of work, but it's worth it. I'd rather force myself to be happy than be naturally sad. And I promise you it's worth it. Listen, I'd love to tell you, hey, I got lucky. I'm naturally a happy person, but that's not the way it works. Fortunately and unfortunately. Fortunately, because that means if you're a naturally unhappy person, you do have a chance at seeing the positive in life and changing literally your entire life around. Unfortunately, because it takes a lot of work, but I promise you I wouldn't sit here and make this video if I didn't think you were worth it and I didn't think you could do it.